Hello there everybody, it's Acer back today with another Star Wars video, and today we're going to be breaking down Chapter 12 of The Mandalorian titled The Siege. This video will contain spoilers for Episode 4 of Season 2 of The Mandalorian, so if you've not yet seen the episode, I'd highly advise you click off. Okay guys, so today we're going to be talking about the three biggest revelations that happened in this episode, and what they could mean for not only the future of The Mandalorian, but the franchise as a whole. Okay, so first up, we're going to be talking about the possible connections to Emperor Palpatine and Supreme Leader Snoke. So it's revealed about halfway through this episode that the Imperial base that the Mando and crew are raiding is not just any military base. Instead, it's actually a laboratory where there's some super sketchy stuff going on. And it's in this laboratory that we see a bunch of deformed figures that look an awful lot like Supreme Leader Snoke. It isn't explicitly revealed whether or not that these, experiments and test subjects are directly connected to Emperor Palpatine and Supreme Leader Snoke in any way, shape, or form, but it definitely seems highly suspicious that the tanks that we saw in this episode highly resemble that of the ones that we saw Supreme Leader Snoke in Episode 9 on Exegol. It is revealed, however, in a form of an old message to Moff Gideon by Dr. Pershing, who we last saw in Season 1 of The Mandalorian, that they require the child again to continue to extract blood. So basically what they've been doing is they've been infusing the child's blood that they extracted in Season 1 of The Mandalorian into these test subjects, because the child's M count, midichlorians, which, basically controls how force-sensitive a being is what they require to continue to perform these experiments, but so far they've been, failing. So this begs the question, what exactly are they trying to accomplish with these test subjects? Are they trying to create an army of force-sensitive beings? Or are they actually working for Palpatine or the Sith cultists on Exegol, trying to create a new strandcast, a new body to hold Palpatine's force powers and his abilities and his spirit? I definitely want to find out. Who is Moff Gideon working for? Is he working for himself? Is he working in conjunction with the First Order? Or is he working directly under Palpatine? What are the intentions here? I really want to get some answers to these questions. And who knows, maybe these experiments are just something entirely different and they were just used as the groundwork by the Sith cultists later on. But it is worth noting that this show only takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, so, 5 years after the defeat of the Empire. And, so the First Order is clearly not a fully established presence yet, but we get some hints towards their rise very soon, and that's what we're going to talk about next. So towards the end of this episode, we get the return of Captain Carson Teva, who was the other X-Wing pilot portrayed by Paul Sun Hung Lee, and, he was alongside Dave Filoni's Trapper Wolf in one of the earlier episodes this season, and he's basically, investigating on Navarro. He's talking to Greef Karga and Cara Dune about Din Djarin and the Mandalorian, where he was headed and what exactly happened. But it's in his conversation with Cara Dune that it gets particularly interesting, because he starts laying the framework for the First Order and the Resistance. The theme, March of the Resistance, starts to play in the background, and I got chills when this started to happen. But he starts mentioning all these isolated events that, he thinks are a part of a much larger threat, but they can't get the support of the core worlds. And, this is exactly why the First Order was able to rise to power and why they became such a huge threat. Obviously they decimated the New Republic in Episode 7. And he's trying to recruit Cara Dune, but she's hesitant to join. And they start talking about the old rebellion and, all the people that they lost in Alderaan. It was a very, very chilling moment. And, it's very cool to actually see, this stuff happening, prior to the events of the sequel trilogy. I hope we get more stuff like this, because this was very interesting. And I definitely wanted to point out the part where he mentions it's going to take the support of everybody across the galaxy to suppress this threat, because, obviously that is what it took in the very end in Episode 9. It took the entire galaxy, the Citizens' Fleet, to defeat the First Order and Emperor Palpatine. So I thought that was a really cool nod to that. Alright, so next up, we're definitely talking about Moff Gideon at the very end of this episode. Oh my goodness, it was so chilling. By the way, Moff Gideon's theme is incredible. Ludwig Göransson, oh my goodness, the music is just amazing. But anyway, when I first saw this, it's revealed that Moff Gideon is in command of his own personal, Imperial light cruiser, but then he's got, this legion of troopers. And I didn't really know what they were at first, but then I was doing some research, and it definitely looks like they're Dark Troopers. So I wasn't entirely familiar with the Dark Troopers prior to making this video, but I did some research, and I found out that they were first introduced in this old video game, Star Wars Dark Forces. They were actually canonized in another game, a mobile game that has since been deactivated, but basically what they were, and they came in 3 different phases. They were basically droids, or exoskeletons. So phase 1 was more of just a skeletal droid, and then as you worked up onto phase 3, they were actual, fully wearable exoskeletons that could be used by, an actual person. They were extremely powerful battle droids, and they were built to resemble that of the Stormtrooper. Whether or not these things are connected to the experiments being done on the child and those other test subjects has yet to be seen, but, maybe it's something entirely different. Maybe they aren't Dark Troopers, but I'm pretty sure that's what they are at this point. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see where they go with this. Also, before we move on, I just wanted to say I totally called it. Moff Gideon is going to be tracking the Mandalorian and the child to Ahsoka Tano, which is definitely, almost positively, going to lead to some epic lightsaber battle between Ahsoka and Moff Gideon. So I cannot wait to see that in next week's episode. Unfortunately, Moff Gideon and Cara Dune stayed behind. I thought they were going to join the Mandalorian on his travel, but that was not the case. But, I'm still excited nonetheless. Also, I just wanted to point out a bunch of the other alien species that we saw this episode, some new and some old. We had the Aqualish, we had the Off-World Jawas, the Kyuzu, the Avisians, and the Mimbanese. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really cannot wait to see where the rest of this season goes. The franchise as a whole, actually, because this is just setting up a bunch of stuff. But I really hope we get to see some epic lightsaber duel between Moff Gideon with the Darksaber and Ahsoka Tano next episode. And we have no footage of anything after this week's episode, so I'm just beyond excited. I cannot wait to see where this goes. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Stay tuned for more Star Wars content. Definitely check me out on TikTok. Leave a like, drop a comment, and may the Force be with you all, always.